The world is witnessing an epic journey of energy, reshaping global power dynamics. Europe, historically reliant on Russian pipelines and US tankers, is pivoting towards Canada for a secure energy future. This shift responds to geopolitical upheavals, redefining alliances and energy sources. Why is Canada, with its vast resources, becoming Europe's new energy partner, seemingly sidelining the US? This narrative explores Europe's energy transformation and its global implications. For decades, Europe's energy landscape was shaped by a complex reliance on two global giants, Russia and the United States. Russian natural gas flowed through vast networks of pipelines, fueling factories, heating homes, and powering entire cities across the continent. This steady supply became the backbone of European industry, making Russia an indispensable partner in the region's economic growth and stability. At the same time, American liquefied natural gas, or LNG, began arriving at European ports, offering a crucial alternative. The US provided Europe with a way to diversify its energy sources, reducing the risk of overdependence on a single supplier. This diversification was seen as a strategic move, giving Europe more flexibility and bargaining power in the global energy market. For years, this dual dependency seemed to work. But as geopolitical tensions rose, the cracks in this arrangement became impossible to ignore. The shutdown of major pipelines and sudden restrictions on Russian gas exports exposed just how vulnerable Europe was to external shocks. The continent's energy security was suddenly at risk, and the reliability of Russian supply was called into question. Meanwhile, shifting US energy policies and political debates back home created uncertainty about the future of American LNG exports. Changes in leadership and evolving priorities meant that Europe could no longer take American support for granted. Europe found itself caught between an adversarial supplier and an unpredictable ally. This precarious position forced European leaders to confront the reality that their energy future could not depend solely on Russia or the US. The search for new, more secure energy pathways became urgent. The long-held assumption that energy relationships would remain stable was shattered. Empty storage facilities and broken pipelines became symbols of a continent in crisis, as headlines warned of looming shortages and skyrocketing prices. Political conflicts and rapid policy changes sent shockwaves through energy markets, disrupting the status quo and sparking public protests over rising costs. European governments scrambled to respond, holding emergency sessions and debating new strategies to protect their citizens and economies. In response, Europe began to rethink its entire approach to energy. New partnerships were explored, alternative routes mapped out, and negotiations with other global suppliers intensified. The continent's leaders recognized that true energy security would require a fundamental shift in strategy. Ensuring a reliable, long-term energy supply became a top priority. Investments in infrastructure, storage, and new technologies were accelerated, as Europe sought to build a more resilient and independent energy system for the future. This realization marked the beginning of a dramatic energy shift, one that would redefine Europe's place in the global energy landscape and set the stage for a new era of innovation, cooperation, and sustainability. For decades, Europe's energy landscape was defined by a heavy reliance on Russian natural gas. This dependence was seen as convenient and cost-effective, until geopolitical tensions exposed a critical vulnerability. The realization dawned across European capitals. Relying so heavily on a single supplier, especially one with unpredictable political motives, posed a significant security threat. The energy map, once stable, was suddenly thrown into question. When Russia began to weaponize its gas exports, using energy as leverage in political disputes, the shockwaves were immediate and far-reaching. News headlines blared warnings of gas cuts, markets tumbled, and the specter of winter shortages loomed large. European leaders and citizens alike were forced to confront the reality that their energy security could no longer be taken for granted. The urgent search for alternatives began, with governments scrambling to secure new sources and stabilize their economies. In the long term, Europe knew it had to accelerate its transition to renewables, wind, solar, and other green technologies. Energy conservation measures were rolled out in homes and businesses, aiming to reduce demand and build resilience. But these solutions, while promising, would take years to fully implement. The immediate challenge was clear. Europe needed reliable gas supplies to keep the lights on and industries running, especially during the cold winter months. The United States stepped in as a crucial stopgap, ramping up liquefied natural gas (LNG) exports to Europe. Massive tankers crossed the Atlantic, delivering much-needed fuel. However, this quick fix came with its own set of problems. European ports and terminals struggled to handle the sudden influx, and global gas prices soared to record highs. Infrastructure bottlenecks and market volatility underscored the fragility of this new arrangement. That's when Canada entered the picture. With some of the world's largest untapped natural gas reserves, Canada had long been seen as a potential energy powerhouse. Yet for years, a lack of export infrastructure, especially on the West Coast, meant these resources remained largely out of reach for European buyers. The crisis changed everything. Europe's urgent demand for secure, non-Russian gas, combined with a renewed sense of political will in Ottawa, breathed new life into previously stalled Canadian LNG projects. High-level meetings and negotiations accelerated, as both sides recognized the mutual benefits of a new energy partnership. Canada quickly emerged as a potential energy savior. Diplomatic engagements intensified, with Canadian and European leaders forging agreements and setting ambitious targets. The world watched as a new transatlantic alliance began to take shape, promising to reshape the global energy order. The LNG Canada project in Kitimat became the flagship of this new era. Construction crews worked around the clock, and other projects soon followed, aiming to transform Canada's west coast into a major export hub. These developments signaled a dramatic shift in the global energy supply chain. A new energy corridor was established, linking Canada's vast resources directly to European markets. Tankers now charted new routes across the Pacific and Atlantic, carrying Canadian LNG to energy-hungry European ports. This corridor not only diversified Europe's supply, but also reduced its exposure to geopolitical risks. The impact was profound. Canada's emergence as a key energy exporter redefined global energy dynamics, challenging old alliances and creating new opportunities. The world's energy map was being redrawn, with Canada now firmly at the center of the conversation. This transformation was driven by both necessity and opportunity. Analysts worked tirelessly to model new scenarios while policymakers navigated the complex interplay of economic, security, and environmental goals. For millions of Europeans, the lights stayed on, thanks in part to this bold reimagining of global energy flows. Europe's energy security was being fundamentally redefined, with Canada playing a leading role. Ministers and engineers coordinated across continents, ensuring that the new system was robust, flexible, and future-proof. The new energy map is still being drawn, but one thing is clear: the choices made today will have profound implications for decades to come, shaping not just Europe's future, but the entire world's approach to energy security and cooperation. Canada's rise as a global LNG player is built on resources, stability, and environmental standards. The Montney and Duvernay formations hold vast gas reserves, now accessible to global markets. The crisis in Europe provided the impetus to build necessary infrastructure. The LNG Canada project in Kitimat is a monumental undertaking, connecting resources to the world. Canadian LNG is attractive for its stability and rule of law, offering a reliable alternative. Contracts with Canadian producers provide long-term security for European buyers. Canada's political stability and environmental commitment are competitive advantages in the energy market. Canada's rise as Europe's gas supplier raises questions for the US. This development marks a significant shift in the global energy landscape as Canada steps up to fill a crucial role. With its vast natural gas reserves and strategic geographic position, Canada is poised to become a key player in meeting Europe's energy needs. This shift not only challenges the traditional dominance of the US in the transatlantic energy market, but also highlights the evolving dynamics of global energy supply chains. Recent US policy decisions created uncertainty, opening the door for Canada. The US has long been a major supplier of liquefied natural gas, LNG, to Europe, but recent policy shifts have left many questioning its future role. The lack of clear direction and the hesitancy to approve new LNG projects have created a vacuum that Canada is eager to fill. This uncertainty has not only affected US energy companies, but also left European nations seeking more reliable partners. The Biden administration's pause on LNG approvals signaled unpredictability. This pause has been interpreted by many as a sign of shifting priorities within the US government, focusing more on domestic energy concerns and environmental considerations. While these are important issues, the lack of clarity has made international partners wary of relying too heavily on US energy exports. European leaders sought long-term commitments, finding Canada more dependable. In the face of energy security concerns, European nations have been actively seeking stable and long-term energy partnerships. Canada's commitment to expanding its LNG export capacity and its willingness to engage in long-term contracts have made it an attractive partner for Europe. This newfound reliability is reshaping the energy alliances across the Atlantic. Canada's proactive stance contrasted with U.S. policy hesitation. While the U.S. grapples with internal policy debates, Canada has taken decisive steps to enhance its energy export infrastructure. This proactive approach has not only bolstered Canada's position in the global energy market but also underscored the importance of timely decision-making in maintaining competitive advantage. The economic implications for the U.S. could be significant, with competition for market share. As Canada strengthens its foothold in Europe, U.S. energy companies may find themselves facing increased competition, not only in Europe, but also in other global markets. The potential loss of market share could have far-reaching economic consequences, affecting everything from stock prices to job security within the energy sector. Europe locking in Canadian contracts may shift U.S. focus to Asian markets. With Europe increasingly turning to Canada for its energy needs, the U.S. may need to redirect its efforts towards expanding its presence in Asian markets. This shift could open new opportunities for U.S. energy exports, but it will require strategic planning and investment to succeed in these competitive markets. This represents a missed opportunity for the U.S. to solidify its energy role. The current situation highlights the importance of adaptability and foresight in the energy sector. By not capitalizing on its potential to strengthen ties with Europe, the U.S. risks losing its position as a leading energy exporter, which could have long-term implications for its global influence. Canada's benefits highlight the importance of reliability in global energy. As Canada continues to build its reputation as a reliable energy supplier, it sets a precedent for other nations looking to secure their energy futures. This shift underscores the critical role that reliability and strategic partnerships play in the ever-evolving global energy landscape. The shift rebalances transatlantic energy dynamics, with Canada gaining influence. This change in energy flows not only alters the balance of power across the Atlantic but also signals a new era of energy cooperation and competition. As Canada gains influence, it will be crucial for all players in the energy market to adapt to these new dynamics and explore innovative ways to collaborate and compete on the global stage. Europe's energy shift is a strategic reinvention, with Germany leading the transformation. New LNG terminals in Germany are designed with Canadian supply in mind. France and the UK also seek diversified, stable energy sources. Canadian gas fits the strategy of diversification and political reliability. Europe moves away from reliance on a single supplier, embracing a new energy doctrine. Canada becomes the anchor tenant in Europe's redesigned energy architecture. This alignment represents a fundamental change in transatlantic energy flows. The strategy is built on trust and stability, reshaping Europe's energy landscape. The energy shift isolates Russia, dismantling its influence over Europe. Canadian LNG creates a new center of gravity in the global energy market. For Canada, the economic benefits are transformative, boosting growth and revenues. The shift impacts developing nations, redirecting flexible LNG supplies. A new North Atlantic bloc emerges, strengthening Europe-Canada ties. Canada's growing stature rebalances traditional transatlantic relationships. The Europe-Canada energy partnership faces tension with climate goals. Critics argue it locks in emissions, while proponents see it as a pragmatic compromise. Energy security is deemed essential for a green transition. Canadian LNG is framed as a cleaner fossil fuel option. The debate highlights a schism in the climate movement, pragmatists versus purists. Success depends on using Canadian gas as a bridge to accelerate green investments. A new global energy order emerges, reshaping power dynamics. Europe's pivot to Canada is a fundamental realignment with lasting consequences. Canada's rise as a major energy force brings economic benefits and responsibilities. The U.S. faces a wake-up call on reliability and political predictability. The new energy axis diminishes Russia's influence and strengthens Canada-Europe ties. The challenge is ensuring today's energy security doesn't undermine future sustainability.